Hello and welcome everyone to this week's COT review. I'm Thomas from COTBase.com. Today we're going to be analyzing the 6 Commitments of Traders report of 2022. And as we always do, we shall start off by looking at the largest changes in commercials positions. But before we jump to the review, just a brief reminder for those of you who are just joining, here at COTBase.com, you'll find a lot of educational material that will help you better understand how to analyze this wonderful report. We also have some very useful videos as well that will guide you through the analysis process. So back to the review and starting off with our first market, the Brazilian Real, where we have a huge 63% change in commercials net positions based on a 52-week look-back period. Here you go. You can see the commercials represented with the red line and that sudden change in their net positions from above 10,000 contracts net long down to 22,000 contracts net short. So very significant 30,000 contract change in their net positions. Of course, large speculators changing their net positions as well. This, of course, is a significant bearish COT change signal that may affect the market in the near term. But if we switch our attention to the 5 years chart, you can see that with this change, traders have actually reached a more bearish COT extreme level. So both of our major COT signals are pointing downwards in the Brazilian Real, suggesting some weakness coming in the near and more longer term ahead of us. Feeder cattle will be the next market with a 29% change in commercials positions. You can see that change size over there being a bit larger than average, but really nothing too unusual. I would say large speculators change their net positions a bit more aggressively. And of course, this suggests we may see some further decline that was going on Thursday and Friday. Moving on to the 5 years chart, you can see that overall we are still in a more bullish COT extreme territory, which suggests that we may actually see this strengthening that's been going on the past 2-3 years in feeder cattle just continue on. Heating oil with a 23% change in commercials net positions will be the next market. You can see the change size over there, again, greater than average, suggesting some strengthening, which of course, as you may see, has been going on for quite some time since early December. Moving on to the 5 years chart, you can see that even though we have that rally in the market, we are not seeing any bearish extremes being developed in traders' positions. So it just states that we may actually see the continuation of the rally here in this energy market, heating oil. Moving on to large speculators, COT Extreme, we have an all-time COT Extreme in coffee. Not only is that visible in large speculators, but we have that in commercials as well. So it is, of course, clearly visible on the charts over here. This is a reading that we have never seen in the COT history of coffee. It is coming at a point in time when coffee is at very high price levels. Of course, if we switch to the max chart, you can see that coffee has actually been traded higher before. I would not be surprised if coffee was aiming at those highs and actually surpassing it as the extreme in the market just continues on. So this is just a warning. All-time COT extremes can be present in the market for many weeks before you see a shift in the trend. It does suggest there's stress levels that we've never seen, and you should be cautious and be prepared for a pullback or actually a major shift in the trend. Sugar is our next market, 86 report extreme over there. Of course, switching back to the 5 years chart, here we go. So here we do not have such a significant extreme, but it has been, almost we're getting close to 2 years since we had that extreme. So relatively speaking, it is becoming more bullish, but I should point out that the last major extreme was this bearish COT extreme that's been going on since October of 2020 throughout 2021 until August. And as you can see, as we reach that top, traders have pulled away from those bearish extreme levels. Who knows how far this can go, whether or not we will reach a more significant bullish extreme, but it does show that stress levels from those bearish extremes have decreased. And last but definitely not least, let's open natural gas. Here we have a 30 report extreme in large speculators, so not a huge extreme, and that actually puts us more or less in between the major bearish and bullish COT extreme that we've witnessed in this past 5 years. The most bullish extreme, of course, from January of 2020, and the most bearish COT extreme from October of 2020. So we're more or less in between those two. We'll see which way natural gas is headed. So, of course, don't forget, here at COTbase.com, there's much more to do. We, of course, only show you a few market categories in these reviews. And, of course, we're analyzing the COT report on the classic, the so-called legacy COT report on futures and options data. But you have the opportunity here at COTbase.com to switch to more newer COT report types. For example, the disaggregated, the traders and financial futures, and the commodity index traders COT report type. And of course, we have the ability to switch from futures only and options only, or of course you may have a look at both data types at the same time. You can always go into a more in-depth analysis for a specific market. For example, here you have the Australian dollar. That is definitely available to you. And I should also mention that we have some wonderful indicators at your disposal. The COT Base Pro indicator, which by the way includes an access to the website, but adds a indicator into your NinjaTrader, basically allowing you to use the same tool sets, but in your NinjaTrader. And of course, you can set it as you wish. The iCOT Intraday Indicator, an amazing tool for those who are looking for assistance in the more shorter time frame. This is not data from CFTC. This is our own tool that we spend many years to develop. And as you will see here on gold, this is a 1-minute candlestick chart, and you still have these wonderful tool sets underneath that, of course, mimic or very similar to the COT analysis that we do, because we actually spent a ton of energy producing indicators that will behave in a similar manner. So we are measuring stresses, but within a shorter time frame. Very useful tool that I think is worth trying. I truly appreciate your attention. Thank you very much for being with me. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in my next COT review. Take care. Goodbye.